Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to have a very quick look at what are sparse autoencoders and how they work. So let's get started. Why do you actually need sparse autoencoders is the first question. Conventional autoencoders typically tend to have much lesser number of neurons in the hidden layer or the encoding layer when compared to the neurons in the input layer. This is fine, but as the data set complexity increases or if there is a lot of randomness in the data, you may require to have a larger number of neurons in the hidden layer or the encoding layer. When that happens, you have a few problems. Uh, One major problem is that if you have very large number of neurons in the hidden layer, the representations learned could be trivial, which basically means that the neurons may learn patterns which do not make a lot of sense. For example, the uh, neurons in the hidden layer, if they are, say, for this particular example, if you have 800 neurons in the hidden layer, then the possibility is that the system may learn a 1:1 kind of a mapping. That means input equals to output, and there will be no learning that will happen. So that is a kind of possibility that you could have. On the other hand, if you have a lot of randomness in the data, a lot of hidden representations, it is good to have a large number of uh, neurons in the hidden layer. So to make sure that the representation is not trivial, as well as to make sure that learning happens for very complicated kind of input patterns, you require to have a large number of neurons. And at the same time, to make sure that there is no conflict, you make sure that the network is sparse. If sparsity is added, a lot of the issues with trivial representation will be taken care of by itself. Right? So that is what we say here. And how does it actually work? A typical sparse autoencoder works by looking at the average activation that is generated. The average activation, as you can see here in this formula, is the average of the outputs of each neuron. So you can see rho I estimated, or rho I hat, is equal to the average of the activations for that particular hidden neuron I over all the samples. So once that is done, this could actually be n as the number of samples in the dataset, or it could be the number of samples in the mini batch that you may have decided. Okay, so this will give you the average activation. And if you can put a threshold on this average activation, what you come up with is the um, regularization of this particular parameter. So basically what we do is that we put a maximum limit of 1 on the activation, and we put a minimum limit which can be designed by the user on the activation function. So now what happens is that the activation average activation that you are able to see here is uh, set as a part of the sparsity regularization property. And how it is done is by making sure that if the actual activation and the desired activation, that is actual activation is rho I hat, and the desired activation that is specified by the user, if they are very close to each other, then the activation or the regularization that is happening is uh, towards the optimal part of the network, and that's what you actually would like to have. And how do you encourage sparsity is by using something called the Kullback labeler divergence, or KL divergence. So you can see here KL divergence typically measures how different two distributions are, and if you have the set activation value and the desired activation value very close to each other, then the KL divergence function becomes small, very close to zero. Like when they're exactly equal, they become zero, and becomes larger and larger as the desired activation and the um, set activation value of the neurons become very, very different. So if you put this as a part of your objective function itself, the objective function, the learning algorithm will try to bring the desired activation and the obtained activation values very close to each other. And the formula that you have for this is given using a formula that is here. You will find this as the sparsity regularization term here, and in MATLAB it is done with the help of sparsity proportion parameter. This is what you will set, and this is what actually represents rho in the MATLAB terminology. Rho is same as sparsity proportion. So you can set a value of sparsity proportion, and as you can see, if the sparsity proportion is set to 0.1, it means that an average output of the neuron in the hidden layer should be basically greater than 0.1. Otherwise it will be set to 0. So it will be suppressed, and it will not participate in the learning for that particular uh, data set or sample. So this is the formula for sparsity regularization. And one very important thing that you should remember is that we have a problem with this particular situation. The problem is that you can improve the activation values by simply increasing the values of the weight vectors. So if you increase the weight vectors, the activation values, because the activation is basically input multiplied by weights. So that is what is the input to the hidden neuron, and the output of that is basically passing it through an activation function. So you will see that just by increasing the values of the weights, you will be able to increase the overall activation values. But that is also not a very desirable thing. We need to have a regularization there as well. So to regularize these values, what we do is we typically carry out an L2 regularization, which is done using this. There's no need to panic on this one. It's a very simple idea. What it actually means is that you take the individual weights, take each and every single weight and take its square, and then sum it and find its average. Trace of Wi transpose Wi basically is same as, if you look at the top, square of each and every single weight. So you take the sum of every single weight in the W matrix, take the square of some square of every single weight in V matrix, sum them, and then repeat the whole process all over again. So basically, you take every single weight in the network, square them, add them, and then just do 1/2 of that. So this will actually be giving you a very a single large value, and this will be also a term which will be added to your cost function. And the idea of the cost function is to minimize this. So there is a balance which is achieved, uh, so that the weights are not arbitrarily increasing to a very large value, and at the same time the activation is improved, and you have a balance being stuck there. So this is what you are getting, and if you put them all together, here you have the mean squared error function, which we saw in the first autoencoder class. Then we have the sparsity regularization term, and then you have the weight regularization term. So this is what you will find as the total objective function which needs to be minimized. Okay, and lambda and beta can be set by simply using L2 weight regularization and sparsity regularization name value pairs in MATLAB. This is only for MATLAB. For other languages like Python, you may have different words being used for this, but they basically mean beta and lambda. These are the major references that I have gone through to do this tutorial. And in the next tutorial, we will try to see a MATLAB program on how to actually implement this, and a couple of applications of sparse autoencoders. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe. Thank you.